Hello and welcome into the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast, Emergency Edition today, alongside 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting. I'm Cooper Petagna. Drew, it's that time of year. Put on your Santa Claus hat. Merry Flipmas. They're doing that down in Miami and Coral Gables. How about this one? Five-star defensive lineman Justin Scott out of Illinois will flip to Miami. That happened yesterday. This is a huge one. All 6'4", 310 pounds of them heading down south to Florida. Miami does it again. They're now up to number 5 in the 24/7 Sports Composite Team rankings. Justin Scott joining the likes of Artavius Jones, Marquise Lightfoot, and a handful of others. Drew, you're the director of scouting. It's that time of year. Like 98% of the top 247's already off the board. We knew Miami. This is what they do. They work until the wee hours of the night. They wake up early. They have their Cuban coffee. They get it going. They got our guy Dennis Smith down there with the pom-poms. They're all over it, man. What is your first response to Justin Scott flipping from Ohio State to Miami?
Well, my first reaction, I was out at dinner when this came across the timeline. To me, I was like, okay, wait, high school recruiting is still a thing. We're just so engulfed with the transfer portal right now, all these quarterbacks going in there. So at least someone is working the high school ranks, and it's not surprising that it's Mario Cristobal. I mean, this is a massive flip. I mean, we're talking about a blue chip guy. And Cooper, I think the first thing that stands out about Justin Scott is he is a rare body type in this 2024 cycle. We've talked about the lack of maybe premium offensive tackles. Not a lot of big interior defensive linemen like Justin Scott. You said he's 6'4", 210 pounds, near 80-inch wingspan. He's a big boy. And what really gets us excited about him, I think, is the fact that he hasn't played a ton of football. He played varsity for the first time as a sophomore. He is a basketball player growing up, also played some baseball and some hockey. They eventually started him in football, and he's figuring it out. And I think he is starting to play his best football. It's unique. Last season as a junior, he played offensive line and defensive line. Here as a senior at St. Ignatius, he was a running back. He was a running back and a defensive lineman. So I think he's a guy where there's a ton of developmental upside, and really just how he moves for someone his size is unique in this cycle.
You mentioned the multi-sport athleticism at 300 pounds plus. That's really impressive. I think as a junior, that kind of caught our eyes, Drew. The other thing about him, you talked about him playing offense. I kind of liked him on the offensive side of the ball. I think he could play tackle, potentially guard. There were some conversations. What side of the ball do we put Justin Scott on? He's going to end up playing defense. Another huge get for Jason Taylor, defensive line coach down there. And Drew, you think about the 2023 haul for the Miami Hurricanes as well. Ruben Bain, consensus first-team All-American as a freshman, and then Jaden Wayne, Collins, Aki, and Pong as well. What they're doing at the point of attack, I haven't seen Mario Cristobal do this at any point of his career on the defensive side of the ball. We know Mario Cristobal's emphasis on the offensive line, obviously what he did last year, Francis Mauanoa and Samson Okunlola and a handful of others of guys that we like, but what they've done defensively, especially with the hire of Jason Taylor and Joe Salavea, you got to give him some credit as well. Drew, Justin Scott, this is a big addition, that goes without saying, but I talked to Gabby Uridia this morning, who covers Miami at 24/7 Sports, does a phenomenal job, and Armando Blunt, a guy that was a former 5-star in the 2025 class. He's committed to Florida State, was previously committed to Miami. Miami's working that one over right now, and it seems like Miami thinks that they have a pretty good shot at Armando Blunt. What would be your impression if Miami was able to pair Justin Scott with a guy like Armando Blunt, not to mention Artavius Jones and Marquise Lightfoot, who we really like a lot as well?
It would be a strong haul, and I think really the strength of Miami's recruiting class is on that defensive side of the ball. You mentioned what they're doing up front, but how about Zaquan Patterson, the safety at Chaminade Madonna Prep? James Williams, Cam Kitchens, they're both expected to leave for the NFL and test the NFL waters. So there's going to be playing time available, and Mario Cristobal in year 2, he showed that he's not afraid to play the young guys. Ruben Bain named ACC Rookie of the Year. I mean, we thought he was a high motor player, translated quickly over to the ACC. So I think it'd be more of the same. And I think that's one of the reasons why Miami was maybe able to pull Justin Scott away from Ohio State. Sure, yes, we're in the NIL era right now with the transfer portal and all that. We know Miami has been as active as anyone when it comes to the name, image, and likeness, but still, I think Mario and that staff was able to go to Justin Scott, say, hey, we need some help in the middle. We're going to bring in some transfers, but there's a chance here where you can be a back guy, a guy at the back end of the rotation and maybe get, 10, 15 snaps. And by season's end, maybe you're playing 20 or 30. So that's what stands out to me. Not only the fact that Mario continues to get these high profile 5-stars, but he's not afraid to throw them on the field. And that really isn't the case maybe at some of these other schools around the country.
Couple weeks to go. It's an early national signing day. That will be on December 20th. And if you've been keeping up with college football recruiting and the trends, early national signing day, it's really signing day now. February, leaving a lot to be desired, a slow trickle there of guys who hold out between that couple of months. Drew, the other guys on the wish list for Miami, where it seems like everybody's pretty buttoned up and they're playing a little bit of roster defense at this point, trying to keep their guys in the boat. Miami has 27 commitments in the boat. I mentioned that this class now ranks number 5. They follow that up from a top 10 class last year. How about this, Drew? A couple guys still out there that Mario Cristobal, his staff are working on. Let's start with the number 1 player in the country, the receiver out of Chaminade, Madonna, and Jeremiah Smith. Also Ellis Robinson as well. Fran Brown getting the head coaching job at Syracuse. We'll see if that maybe opens the door a little bit for Miami to get in there. They're still working him over. LJ McCray committed to Florida, right? That was one where it seemed like we didn't know which Sunshine State school it was going to be. Ends up being Florida. Miami still working hard. A couple other names. Dylan Stewart, the 5-star edge out of the D.C. area, committed to South Carolina. Zay Mincy, who Miami feels really good about, top 247 safety. And the guy that gets Jeremiah Smith the football, 3-star quarterback, Cedric Bailey, committed to NC State. So Miami, Drew, where it seems like everybody's kind of washing the dishes right now and putting their plates in the sink, it looks like Miami's still got a little bit of food on their plate. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Drew, your final thoughts on what Miami could possibly get done here before December 20th?
Mario Cristobal is built for this time of the year, right? He ends the season. There's some exit meetings, but it's full go recruiting. Cooper, you work for him. You know this. I would not be surprised, and this is just speculation, but they're probably going to pull off, I would think, one more flip. I mean, that has been kind of the track record for Mario since he's arrived at Miami, and it was the same case at Oregon, but they're always good for a surprise or two. We saw the first one right here with Justin Scott. We'll see what else they can get. I know they're also looking to add another tight end to the class. I like what they have committed in Elijah Lofton. He just won a state title there in Nevada at Bishop Gorman, had 2 touchdowns in that game. So it's a solid class. Justin Scott, certainly a headliner. And again, I think the strength of this unit is on the defensive side of the ball. And you look at what Miami's losing, to the NFL draft, to the transfer portal, to graduation. I think some of these guys are going to play in 2024.
I've been heavy on the analogies, and Christmas time is coming up. I've been blaring Christmas music on my way to work, but it's almost like Mario Cristobal. He's kind of like the Grinch, right? Everybody's kind of loosey-loo, putting their head on the pillow. They're very comfortable. They're feeling really good about their class. And 2 weeks left, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks till early National Signing Day, and it's Mario Cristobal, right? Looking under the presents, under the tree. Who can he steal? I mean, we just talked about, 6, 7 guys there? Right, and a couple of these guys, all top 100 players. Jeremiah Smith, talked about him. Ellis Robinson, Armando Blunt. I think they're in a good spot there, along with Zay Mincy. So Miami, right now, if you're looking for a team to look out for over the next couple of weeks, I would say that would be the Canes down there in Coral Gables. Guys, for Andrew Ivins, I'm Cooper Petagna. Also, make sure to keep it locked to the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast every Tuesday and Wednesday. We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll see you next time.